Have you ever stayed somewhere so quiet that even the smallest sound feels wrong? A place where people act normal, but something about them feels off, like they know something you don't. What if, the moment you checked in, someone was already watching you, waiting, studying your routine just for the right moment? Last fall, I was sent to a small town for work. The place felt empty, like life had drained out of it. Stores closed early, streets stayed quiet, and there was this strange feeling like you shouldn't be outside after dark. I told myself it was just a normal small town, but it didn't feel normal. The motel I stayed at was small, old, and almost empty. The woman at the desk smiled, but her eyes kept drifting toward the parking lot. Before handing me the key, she said something strange. If anyone knocks at night, don't open the door. That warning didn't sound like advice, it sounded like experience. That night, I noticed a dark green pickup truck parked near my room. The engine was running, but the headlights were off. Inside, a man sat completely still. No movement, no reaction, just staring forward. It didn't feel like he was waiting for someone. It felt like he was waiting for me. Around 10:30, I got into bed. A little later, I heard footsteps outside. At first, I ignored it, but then they stopped right outside my door. No knock, no voice, just silence. Then the steps walked away, only to come back again, slower this time, and stop again. Then came the knock. Soft, controlled, almost careful. I checked the peephole and saw nothing. No one was there. That's when the fear started to settle in, because something was clearly outside, but I couldn't see it. Around midnight, I heard a faint scraping sound near the door. When I looked again, I saw someone crouched low, just out of sight, only a cap and part of a shoulder. Whoever it was, they were trying not to be seen, and that made it worse. Early in the morning, my truck alarm suddenly went off. I looked outside and saw a man standing by it, the door slightly open. Then he slowly turned his head and looked straight toward my room, like he already knew I was watching him. The next night was worse. The same truck came back, then came tapping on my window, slow, repeated, followed by something dragging across the glass. Then I heard movement in the empty room next to mine, like someone quietly breaking in. When the police arrived, whoever it was ran. But before leaving, I found something under my bed. A piece of paper with my room number and my truck plate written on it. That's when I realized the truth. I wasn't chosen randomly. I was being watched long before I even arrived. What would you do if someone you barely knew started acting like they owned you, watching you, tracking you, threatening you, and somehow finding you even when you never told them where you live? It started simple. I downloaded a dating app, matched with a guy, and we started talking. At first, everything felt normal. He was friendly, attentive, maybe a little intense, but nothing too alarming. But after a few weeks, his behavior changed. He became possessive. He would say things like, "You're mine," and then, "If I can't have you, no one can." At first, I thought he was joking, until I realized he wasn't. One day, he disappeared. No messages, no calls, nothing. I thought it was over. I felt relieved. I moved on, thinking I'd never hear from him again. Then, suddenly, he came back, like nothing happened, talking normally, but still asking questions. Where I was, who I was with, what I was doing. It didn't feel like conversation anymore. It felt like monitoring. One night, I got dropped off at home. As I walked down the alley, I saw someone standing there. At first, I ignored it until they said my name. When I saw his face, my heart dropped. It was him. Before I could react, He grabbed me and forced me against the wall, demanding answers like he had the right to control my life. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. I truly believed that moment was the end. But then, suddenly, he stopped, not because he wanted to, but because he had somewhere to be. The police later told me something terrifying. His intention wasn't just control, it was much worse. And even after that night, I was still being followed. Now, every time I step outside, I feel it, that feeling that someone is watching, waiting, because he once told me he always would be. What if the silence of the woods isn't really silence? What if something is out there, moving, watching, waiting for you to fall asleep so it can come closer? I went on a solo camping trip just to relax. I had done it before, and nothing bad had ever happened. But this time, something felt different. On the way, a stranger warned me. He said, "It gets really quiet out there at night." I didn't think much of it at the time, but later I understood exactly what he meant. That evening, while sitting by the fire, I heard footsteps. I looked up and saw a man standing between the trees, just watching me. He asked if I was alone. I lied. I told him someone else was coming. He didn't argue. He just walked away. But before disappearing, he stopped and looked back. That night, inside my tent, I heard footsteps again. Slow, careful, circling around me. Then they stopped right outside. I could hear breathing, not loud, but close enough to know someone was right there, just inches away. The footsteps kept coming back, again and again, all night. And at some point, I realized it didn't sound like just one person anymore. At sunrise, I stepped outside and heard multiple people running away through the trees. That's when I knew I was never alone out there. When I came back later, everything was gone. My tent, my gear, everything. No signs, no clues, just empty ground, like I was never there. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe my channel. See you on next videos. Till then, goodbye.